Another Trump speech to look at where the lies and mishaps were at an all-time high as Trump went to Wisconsin and decided, I'm not going to say a single thing that's even kind of close to the truth. It's actually impressive at this point, the amount of misinformation he can cram into such a short time. There was so many lies in this one that even CNN did a segment pointing out over 30 lies that he told. So let's start with their segment and breaking down what they're saying, and then we'll play some clips of the felon himself.
He said there was world peace in 2020. There was very much not. He said he won Wisconsin in 2020. He lost. He said the Democrats rigged the 2020 election. A lie. He said people around President Biden cheat on elections. No. He said people's votes tend to disappear. They simply do not. He said 107,000 people attended his recent rally in New Jersey. That's at least tens of thousands too high. He said he saved Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020 during rioting when the Democratic governor wouldn't act to intervene. In fact, that governor deployed the National Guard before Trump told him to. Trump said cocaine was found at the White House about a month ago. That was actually about 11 months ago. He said it was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cocaine. It was a little bag, maybe generously in the hundreds of dollars worth. He said Biden orchestrated his New York criminal trial. Zero evidence of that. He said Biden was also behind all of his cases, including civil trials. Baseless again. He said Biden wandered off at the G7 and didn't know where he was. No, Biden was briefly chatting with a skydiver who had landed near the group.
Trump is a magician at stretching numbers to make himself look better and his opposition look worse, construing lies about them constantly, and of course, whining nonstop about an election he clearly lost that over 60 court cases were brought about and not a single one found fraud. And since he's here in Wisconsin, I thought what better way to show this than by the cases he brought and lost in Wisconsin. He first made the claim in one of his cases that all the indefinitely confined voters were fraudulent, every single one of them. These are the people who vote using absentee ballots due to age, illness, or infirmity. His claim was on the basis that since these ballots don't require photo ID, however, over 80% provided photo ID, that they have to be fraudulent. The majority of these were over 65 years old, and this vote only made up 11% of the total absentee ballots, and this case was rejected on the merits. He then raised a case about the state rejecting his fraudulent electors, which of course was also rejected on its merits, and in both cases the MAGA Supreme Court refused to even hear the case as they had not a single foundational truth in them.
He said he was indicted more than infamous Al Capone. No, Al Capone had more indictments than him. He said he was in Washington the other day for one of his trials. He was actually there for meetings with congressional Republicans. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 soldiers on January 6th. She never got such an offer and would not have had the power to reject it even if she did. He said the January 6th committee deleted all records, just did not happen. He said he's the only president who didn't start a war. Jimmy Carter didn't start any wars. He said he finished the war in Syria, no, and got U.S. soldiers out. He actually left hundreds of troops there. He said Syria and Turkey have been fighting over their border for, quote, 2,000 years. That border, Abby, is less than a century old. He said insane asylums are being emptied by foreign countries to let people come to the U.S. as migrants. His own campaign cannot substantiate this claim. And he also said prisoners are coming in from jails in the Congo over the border. His campaign can't substantiate that either. He said President Obama cannot deport criminals to Latin American countries. Obama, in fact, could.
The one I want to focus on here is Trump's claim that he's the only president who didn't start a war. Not only is that false, as pointed out, but the claim is misleading intentionally to make people believe that we weren't engaged in warlike activities or that world peace or our troops weren't in danger. Trump, in 4 years, bombed more countries with drone strikes than Obama did in 8 years. One of those attacks killing an Iranian general, which Trump was advised against heavily, which led to Iran then attacking U.S. embassies, killing 3 U.S. troops and severely injuring dozens. And more troops died in Afghanistan under Trump than Biden. And even if you take it year by year and only compare 1 year to Biden's 1 year, 3 of Trump's 4 years as president exceeded the U.S. deaths in Afghanistan that Biden had before his withdrawal.
He said Venezuela's crime is down 72% because of emigration to the U.S. Venezuela's violent deaths are actually down 25%, and that's for a variety of reasons. He said 17 or 18 million people have now entered illegally over the border. Experts say that's many millions too high. He said Biden's plans would quadruple your taxes. Total fiction. He said canceling Keystone XL, the pipeline, cost 48,000 jobs. That is wildly inflated. He said total inflation under President Biden is 40 or 50%. It's actually 19%. He said before he took took office, there was a $500 billion trade deficit with China. It has never been that high. And in fact, the record was set under Trump in 2018. He said no previous president has taken in even 10 cents in tariff money from China. It is Americans who pay those tariffs. And the U.S. has actually had such tariffs on China since the 1700s. And finally, he said we're in the worst crime wave in modern history. Crime has actually plummeted in 2023 and so far in 2024.
No one making less than $400,000 a year had their taxes raised by Biden. And if you look, after-tax income from the American Rescue Plan was actually much higher for the lower and working classes than it was under Trump after the tax cuts that he did, which again, massively were skewed to benefit the rich. Trump is just mad that he's not getting the same tax breaks he once was, so he wants to convince the working class that it's them as well, so he can then just give more benefits to billionaires as if they don't already get enough handouts. As you can see, they just pretty easily named 30 lies that he told in one speech, which made my job a lot easier. I appreciate it, CNN. Now, let's go look at a couple of his gaffes.
George Stopalopoulos. I call him Slopadopoulos. George Stopalopoulos. The fast track to rapid citizenship. So Joe Biden's granting mass countries where we have nobody in our country that even understands the language.
He's slurring his words, stuttering through speeches, unable to pronounce simple phrases and names, all while looking red, sweaty, and just generally unwell. It's kind of a sickening view, especially when you add in the mass misinformation he's spreading while doing it. The people in the crowd couldn't tell one thing from the other politically. They just support what he says because he says it. Now, compare this to the Joe Biden speech that we covered this morning, and it's night and day. From presentation, character, to respect, Trump is stuck fear-mongering and lying in hopes to get back into office, while Joe Biden is doing work for the American people and standing 10 toes on it. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.